Hey everyone, and welcome to lesson 3 of my easy guitar course. Today we're going to be talking a little bit about music theory. And music theory is just the understanding of music, how all these different elements come together to actually work to make music. So hopefully you've been working on your hand dexterity and your strumming. Keep working on that. This is going to be something that goes alongside those elements to help you to understand what you're actually doing. It's not just random actions thrown together that make music work, but there are elements that are good to understand that help you as you continue to develop as a guitar player. So one of the first elements is understanding the musical alphabet. And the musical alphabet is going to help you to understand which note comes after other notes, but isn't necessarily laid out the best way on guitar. So we're actually going to jump over to piano where it's laid out a little bit better, and I'm going to walk you through the musical alphabet and how that works. So let's check that out. So you've most likely seen a piano keyboard at some point in your lifetime, but what you may not have noticed is that the keys are actually divided up into smaller groups. So you have 2 black keys, and then 3 black keys here, and then another group of 2 black keys, and then another group of 3 black keys. And this repeats over the entire keyboard. And this is intentional because we have breakings within the actual musical alphabet. What you'll find is you have a group of 2 black keys, and the note just to the left of that is a C note. And just like our English alphabet, you would follow the letters in order across the white keys. So you have our C, then a D, then an E, then an F, then a G. Now, G is the end of our musical alphabet, and then we restart at A. So here is our A note, and again, just like our regular alphabet, you would have A, B, C, D, E, F, G. That is the entire alphabet right there, from A to G. So you may be asking yourself now, well, what about the black keys? We haven't talked about them yet. Well, that's because the black keys are representing what they call semitones, or a note in between our alphabet names. So in this case, you have C and you have D. Well, this note in between can have one of 2 different names. It can either be a half step up or a semitone up from our C note, which would make it a C sharp, or it could be a half step down or a semitone down from our D note, which would make it a D flat. So in this case, you have C, C sharp or D flat, D. Our next note, D sharp, because it's up from the D, or E flat, because it's down from the E. Then we move here and we don't have one of those black keys in between, because when we get to E, we jump right over to F. There is no E sharp or F flat in our musical alphabet. It goes right from E to F. Then you have F sharp or G flat. Moving up, you have this note here, which is either G sharp, because it's up from the G, or A flat, because it's down from the A. Then A sharp or B flat. And then we have another one of these breaks. So it goes right from the B into our C note. There is no B sharp or C flat. It doesn't exist in our musical alphabet. It goes right from B to C. And then again, C sharp or D flat, D. D sharp or E flat, E. Right into F. F sharp or G flat, G. G sharp or A flat, A. A sharp or B flat, B. Right into another C. So that's the musical alphabet. The piano lays it out really well because you have these breaks that you don't have visually on guitar. But I just wanted to walk you through that so that you have a good idea of how the musical alphabet works from A to G, and then with the additional sharps and flats. So hopefully that has helped you to understand the musical alphabet. We're going to jump back over onto guitar and see how it applies there. Okay, so now that we know how the musical alphabet actually works, the order of the notes, we're going to apply that to the guitar. So we already know our open note names of the guitar strings. We've got our low E, our A, our D, our G, our B, and our high E. Now these note names, as we've said before, are actually the first note or the open note of each string. Then we can continue on understanding what each note of each fret is going to be by applying what we've learned about our musical alphabet. So if we take our low E string and we go to our first fret, we're going to know that this note is actually the note that follows right after the E on our piano keyboard, which is F. And then our next note is F sharp or G flat. Our third fret is G. Our fourth fret is G sharp or A flat. And our fifth fret is A. Now what you may notice is once we hit that fifth fret with A, that's the same note as our next string, A. So we're going to jump from the E string now to our A string and start again open. There's A. Right after A, we have B flat or A sharp. Then we have B. Our third fret of A is C, because again, we jump from B right to C. There's no B sharp or C flat. It goes right from B into C. Our next note, C sharp or D flat. Our fifth fret is D. Again, we hit our fifth fret, and that note, our D note, is actually the name of our next string. So let's jump now again from our fifth fret to our next string, our D string. So our D is open. First fret is now E flat or D sharp. And then we have our E. Now, we just did our E over here, right? And the next note after E is F. So we're starting to see how octaves even come into play, which means we're repeating notes, but at a higher pitch. So if that's our F on our low E string, our first fret, and this third fret of our D string is also an F, then we have an octave there. Just like how we have an octave with our second fret of the D string is an E and our open E string. Right? So, we have our F. That means our fourth fret is F sharp of the D string. And then we get to our next note, which is G. So again, fifth fret, that note is the same as our next string. There's our G string, open. First fret of our G string is now G sharp or A flat. Then we have our A is the second fret. After our A is A sharp or B flat. Fourth fret is B, and right after B comes C. So C is our fifth fret of the G string. Well, what's our second lightest string's name? It's not C, it's actually B. So in this case, we've changed the pattern. And this is maybe why, just visually, the musical alphabet isn't displayed the same way as on a keyboard. But there's also this one change on the strings that breaks the pattern of what we've learned. Because every other string so far, the fifth fret has been the note name of the next string. But on our G string, it's actually the fourth fret is our B, and B is our following string. So then we can go to our B string. B is open. Our first fret is C. Our second fret is C sharp or D flat. Then we have D, D sharp or E flat, and then our fifth fret is E, which again is the name of our next string, so that goes back to the pattern we were looking at before. And then our last string, our high E string, is the same as our low E string, where we have an E, an F, F sharp or D or G flat, then our G, G sharp or A flat, and our fifth fret is an A. So it's good to know the musical alphabet, but it's also good to be able to apply that to the actual guitar itself. So maybe as you're working through your ability to get that finger independence, you might want to actually start to recite the names of the notes that you're playing. And that's going to help make sure that this is just solidified in your brain, that you don't have to really think about this too much, but you're going to be able to identify within those first 5 frets any of those notes that you're going to be able to play. So work on that. That's going to be important, being able to name within those first 5 frets especially. In theory, we also talk about something called timing. And timing in music is divided into 2 main elements. You have tempo and you have time signature. Tempo is referring to how fast a song is going to be played. So let's say you have a tempo that's represented by a number and then BPM. And BPM stands for beats per minute. So in this case, let's say we have 100 BPM. That tells us that there is 100 individual beats every single 60 seconds of real time. So if you're setting your metronome and you put it to 100, that means you're going to have 100 individual beats every single minute. And that's letting you know how fast a song is going to be played. Now the other side of this is time signature. And time signature is one number with a line in between and then another number underneath. It looks like a mathematical fraction. And what it's telling us is the bottom number is letting us know that a quarter note is equal to one of those beats. Now a quarter note is all that we're going to be talking about for today, just to kind of get a handle of everything. And a quarter note is a musical representation to let us know the length of a certain note in time or a chord in time. So for this particular case, all we need to know is a quarter note is equal to one beat. That's what the bottom four represents here. So if we're clapping out a song and we got 100 beats per minute, every one of these claps is a quarter note. Now the top number lets us know how many beats are in a bar. The top four in this particular case lets us know that there are 4 beats in every bar. Well, what's a bar? A bar of music is a distinct time within a song. So it's letting us know that there are 4 individual beats before a bar is concluded. Music is like a particular song is made up of multiple bars. And what bars help us to understand is where certain changes are going to be happening. It allows us to count in a more simplistic fashion, because if you had to count an entire song without any bars, without any breaks in the way that you process that information, you could have a song that says, okay, this song has 2,000 beats. And to count that song out, you would have to keep counting all the way to 2,000. Whereas a bar allows us to count to, in this example, 4, and then start counting 4 again. So it's an easier way to kind of break down and understand music. But it also helps us, in a lot of cases, commonly, to determine where things like chord changes are going to be, or if different portions of the song is going to change. So it could be going from a verse into a chorus, let's say. Generally that'll happen between 2 bars. So a bar will end, and now we're into a chorus portion for the starting of the next bar. But again, in this example, 4 beats in each individual bar, and a quarter note is equal to 1 beat. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. That is a bar. So this is just going to help you, even as you listen to music on your own, try to determine where those beats are. And this is a pretty simple exercise to just clap along with a song that you're listening to and try and clap in time. You don't necessarily need to identify the tempo or the BPM of the song itself. And I'm not even so concerned at this point in time in trying to identify the time signature, because there are different time signatures that you do find in music. But for the most part, 4/4 time is going to be what you come across most often. So I would just listen to a song and try and clap that out. Get really familiar with trying to get a hang of the structure of the actual tempo of a song. Keep clapping and try your very best to make sure that that is in time. And that's going to help you down the road as you're playing songs to have what you would call good timing in music. So if someone has good timing, generally they can pick up a song, you'll start playing at a certain tempo, and you're really good at keeping it close to that tempo for the entire duration of the song. Even if you don't have a metronome or something else that's giving you that reference, you're really good at holding on to that tempo. So that's something that's good to develop and work on. So hopefully, after this lesson today, you've got a few more things to continue to process. You've got your note names and your musical alphabet to start working on, up to the 5th fret of each string. Try and memorize that as much as you can. And then start working on your tempo, really building that internal love and sense of how fast a song is moving, to almost have an internal metronome that's going on for you. So that's going to help you a lot of the way as we continue to move further on in these lessons. Hopefully that was helpful for you today. As always, feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions. And I'm just so glad that you're here with me today to learn this lesson. Thank you very much. And as always, love you guys.